headlines of this hour on VTV News. Prime Minister proposes new generation economic corridors for the 8th Greater Mekong Sub-Region Summit. And National Assembly discusses amended electricity law. In a world news, Trump wins, electoral victory, and power transition begins.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It's currently 8 a.m. local time and you're watching VTV News. I'm Phie, bringing you the latest updates. Now on Thursday, Party General Secretary Tô Lâm and State President Lương Cường met with Cuban Ambassador Orlando Hernandez as he concluded his diplomatic terms. More on this to follow.
Party General Secretary Tô Lâm praised outgoing Cuban ambassador to Vietnam, Orlando Nicolas Hernandez Guillen, for his contributions during his term. He particularly commended the ambassador's efforts, along with the embassy staff, in facilitating the transfer of the Abdala vaccine and sending medical experts to support Vietnam during the COVID-19 pandemic. Reflecting on his state visit to Cuba, the Vietnamese party chief expressed satisfaction with the positive progress in cooperation between the two countries' ministries and agencies, aiming for prompt and effective implementation of prioritized cooperation projects. The Cuban ambassador thanked the Vietnamese party leader for his commitment to continually strengthening bilateral relations. He expressed his honor at being assigned to Vietnam, reaffirming that the Cuban party and state highly value their trusted relationship with Vietnam.
Also on Thursday afternoon, State President Lương Quang congratulated the outgoing Cuban ambassador on his successful term. State President Lương Quang emphasized that Vietnam understands and shares Cuba's difficulties and is committed to providing both material and moral support. The Cuban ambassador affirmed that despite the challenges, Cuba remains steadfast in its chosen path, striving to overcome difficulties and preserve its revolutionary achievements. He expressed his desire for both countries to engage in meaningful activities to commemorate the 65th anniversary of diplomatic relations, further strengthening their special brotherly bond.
Now, following the election of Donald J. Trump as President of the United States, Party General Secretary Tô Lâm, State President Lương Cường, and Prime Minister Phie sent a congratulatory message on Thursday. Vietnam's top leaders affirmed that the country views the United States as a strategically important partner. They believe that with a strong foundation built by successive generations of leaders over nearly 3 decades, and the support of U.S. President Trump in both his first and upcoming terms, the Vietnam-U.S. Comprehensive Strategic Partnership will continue to grow in depth, effectiveness, and sustainability, serving the interests and aspirations of both peoples, as well as contributing to peace, stability, cooperation, and development in the region and the world. On the same day, Vice State President Võ Thị Ánh Xuân also sent a congratulatory message to Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Vietnamese Prime Minister Phie joined leaders from Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, and China, along with heads of the Asian Development Bank, or ADB, and other regional and international organizations at the 8th Greater Mekong Sub-Region Summit, which opened on Thursday in Kunming City, China's Yunnan Province. More to follow.
At the summit, the Vietnamese leader highlighted lessons from 32 years of GMS cooperation and outlined appropriate directions for the mechanism's future. He also underlined its strategic role in the sub-region's international integration and development, sharing 5 valuable insights gained from its success. The first lesson involves conducting equal, widespread consultations and strengthening consensus among members for shared benefits. The second is developing result-oriented cooperation strategies and programs that align with the real needs of each country and the sub-region. The third lesson centers on putting people at the heart of cooperation and promoting economic connectivity alongside environmental protection. The fourth entails combining each member's efforts with the support of the ADB and development partners. The fifth lesson is turning challenges into motivation for progress.
With the principles that time, wisdom, unity, and cooperation are valuable, we must innovatively create more breakthroughs to advance and integrate. I believe and expect that the results of this summit will contribute to realizing the set goals, programs, and vision of GMS as a whole. Vietnam remains committed to close cooperation with member countries and partners to build a dynamic, innovative, sustainable, and prosperous Greater Mekong subregion for all nations and peoples.
With this mindset, he suggested it's time for the GMS to focus on developing new generation economic corridors centered on innovation, moving beyond the traditional model. He proposed three key components for these corridors: a technology and innovation corridor, an economic growth corridor to revitalize traditional drivers while fostering new ones, and a green, sustainable, and inclusive corridor ensuring balance between economic growth and environmental protection.
Now, on the same day, the Prime Minister attended the 10th summit of the Ayeyarwady Chao Phraya Mekong Economic Cooperation Strategy, or AMEDS. The event, held in Kunming, Yunnan Province of China, also welcomed heads of governments and delegations from Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand.
Addressing the summit, the Vietnamese Prime Minister emphasized ACMECS's central role in Mekong sub-regional cooperation. He described it as an indispensable component of the ASEAN community, a gateway connecting ASEAN with Northeast and Southeast Asia, and a bridge between the Pacific and Indian Oceans.
Our future cooperation should embody the spirit of 5 commons, which are common aspiration, common vision, common determination, common voice, and common action. We must foster a global, people-centered, and comprehensive approach to build solidarity and cohesion. This will bring prosperity not only to each member nation but also to the entire sub-region in Asia, while contributing to global peace, cooperation, and development.
From this perspective, the Vietnamese leader proposed 6 key areas for ACMECS cooperation to achieve breakthroughs in the coming period. Firstly, ACMECS needs tighter coordination to ensure consistency from strategy development to implementation, with Vietnam pledging $10 million to the ACMECS Development Fund. Secondly, the Prime Minister highlighted the need to combine tradition and modernity. Thirdly, rapid growth must be linked with sustainability. Fourthly, regional and international connectivity is crucial for the circulation of goods, services, and people among the 5 nations. Fifthly, it's important to connect the government with people and businesses. Lastly, he emphasized the need to boost connections between development, stability maintenance, and security assurance. The Vietnamese Prime Minister's assessments and proposals were well received by participants and incorporated into the conference's documents.
Vietnamese Prime Minister Phie joined leaders of Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar for the 11th Cambodia-Laos-Myanmar-Vietnam Summit in Kunming, China on Thursday. Theme: Friendship and Solidarity for a Resilient and Prosperous Community. The summit outlined key strategies to harness the potential of its member nations.
The leaders agreed to promote cooperation in areas such as infrastructure connectivity, trade and investment facilitation, tourism, human resource development, and the growth of an interregional energy market. Addressing the summit, Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh emphasized the need to create breakthroughs in CLMV cooperation to keep pace, move forward together, and excel by combining internal strengths with external support. Outlining future directions, the Vietnamese Prime Minister said the 4 CLMV countries should renew their commitment to enhancing and building more effective and practical cooperation, aiming for a developed, resilient, and highly competitive economic region. The Prime Minister stressed that Vietnam will continue to offer CLMV scholarships to students from Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar for study and research in the country. At the end of the summit, the leaders adopted a joint declaration and witnessed the handover of the CLMV cooperation chairmanship from Myanmar to Vietnam.
Now, Prime Minister Phie emphasized to Chinese Premier Li Qiang that developing relations with China is Vietnam's top foreign policy priority. He described it as a consistent policy, an objective requirement, and a strategic choice. The talks took place in Kunming, Yunnan Province on Thursday, while the Vietnamese leader was attending the 8th Greater Mekong Sub-Region Summit. More to follow.
The Vietnamese Prime Minister outlined key directions for Vietnam-China cooperation. He emphasized that both countries should continue to effectively implement the common understandings reached by their top leaders and maintain meetings and exchanges at all levels to discuss bilateral ties and shared concerns. Building on the consensus regarding the cooperation agreement for 3 railway lines, expected to be signed soon, the Vietnamese leader proposed accelerating collaboration on these standard gauge railway routes. The Prime Minister expressed hope that China would further open its market to Vietnam's key agricultural products and work with Vietnam to establish quarantine stations for Vietnamese farm produce at the Dong Dang Binh International Railway border gate. He also emphasized the importance of promoting cooperation in electricity trading, expanding the smart border gate model to other crossings, and organizing exchanges between working groups on the cross-border economic cooperation zone model. Regarding Vietnam's cooperation proposals, the Chinese premier affirmed that the Chinese party and government prioritize relations with Vietnam in their neighborhood diplomacy. He stressed China's readiness to maintain strategic exchanges with Vietnam, deepen practical cooperation, and further advance the comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership and the China-Vietnam community with a shared future, a relationship of strategic significance. The premier committed to further opening China's market to high-quality Vietnamese goods, including agricultural products. He also pledged to strengthen transport infrastructure connectivity with Vietnam, promote cooperation in building and maintaining stable regional supply and production chains, and support Vietnam's hosting of APEC 2027. In the presence of both leaders, the Vietnamese Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Chinese Executive Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs exchanged diplomatic notes between their respective foreign ministries pertaining to the establishment of the Consulate General of Vietnam in Chongqing.
Now, Prime Minister Phie met with his Cambodian counterpart AMENDED during a visit to China. Both leaders expressed satisfaction with the progress in their countries' neighborly relations, friendship, and cooperation. They agreed to strengthen defense and security ties, combat hostile forces seeking to undermine their relations, and boost investment and trade, aiming to achieve bilateral trade of $20 billion in the near future. Additionally, they committed to improving transport connectivity, especially in border areas, to facilitate trade and people-to-people exchanges. Prime Minister Phie urged faster border demarcation and market planning. Both sides emphasized enhancing cooperation in education and communications to foster mutual understandings among future generations. The leaders affirmed the historical importance of Vietnam-Cambodia-Laos relation and pledged to continue trilateral cooperation for regional peace, stability, and development. Prime Minister Phie accepted an invitation from his Cambodian counterpart for an official visit. Coming up next, National Assembly discuss amended electricity law. And employment in enterprise sector increases by 5.7%. Welcome back to VTV News. Continuing its 8th session on Thursday afternoon, the National Assembly discussed the draft amended law on electricity. More to follow.
Deputies agreed on the need to amend the electricity law but expressed concerns about passing the draft in a single session as well as certain provisions on electricity prices.
The amendments to the electricity law are extensive, covering several important areas. Given the scope and importance, passing them in a single session would be too hasty. To ensure the law's quality, I propose avoiding the expedited process for this amendment.
Articles 86 and 87 outline the electricity price adjustment mechanism but lack details on frequency and implementation. I recommend clarifying the adjustment frequency and requiring transparency in the price structure, calculation method, and influencing factors.
Deputies proposed resolving delayed projects to prevent waste and developing renewable energy policies.
Article 33 exempts rooftop solar installations up to 100 kilowatts from land use changes. However, factories with rooftop systems exceeding 100 kilowatt must convert their entire facility to energy use land, which discourages investment.
For intermittent renewable energy systems like wind power, storage solutions such as batteries and hydrogen are key for stability. I propose implementing mechanisms to encourage investment in storage technologies and developing clearer policies for green hydrogen and ammonia projects.
Deputies also commented on policies for offshore wind power, nuclear energy, and overdue electricity payments.
Now, on Thursday, the steering committee tasked with reviewing and addressing project-related difficulties was officially established, led by Permanent Deputy Prime Minister Nguyễn Hòa Bình. At the meeting, the Deputy Prime Minister emphasized the critical importance of restarting stalled projects and bringing them into operation, especially in the face of numerous challenges. He noted that resolving these difficulties would significantly contribute to national growth and development. He urged committee members to uphold a strong sense of responsibility in their research and government advisory roles, focusing on amending and improving legal frameworks and policies. These efforts aim to address challenges and remove bottlenecks, jump-starting these projects as quickly as possible. Employment in the enterprise sector has increased by 5.7% compared to the same period last year. According to the General Statistics Office, this is due to strong growth in the industrial sector and a substantial growth across several economic fields over the past 10 months. Total retail sales of goods and consumer service revenue rose by 8.5% during this period. Many businesses have seen a continuous increase in orders, leading to a sharp rise in labor demand, particularly in sectors like textiles and footwear. Moreover, foreign direct investment in Vietnam, which grew by 8.8% year-over-year, has also contributed to the increased demand for labor. In the first 10 months of this year, Vietnam welcomed more than 14.1 million international tourists, up 41% compared to the same period last year. Asian markets contributed nearly 80% of the total number of international visitors to Vietnam. Four markets, South Korea, China, Taiwan, China, and Japan, accounted for nearly 60% of visitors. European markets also show positive growth, with key markets like the UK, France, and Germany increasing by 20 to 30%. These markets benefit from a unilateral visa exemption policy, allowing stays of up to 45 days in Vietnam. According to the Geology Department, Vietnam is home to nearly 400 hot mineral springs. Many localities have transformed these natural wonders into tourist attractions, diversifying and expanding their tourism offerings. Let's visit Tuyên Quang City in Tuyên Quang Province, where a hot mineral spring reaches temperatures of almost 70 degrees Celsius, to learn more.
Nguyen has been dealing with osteoarthritis for years. Recently, she visited this hospital and hot spring resort to focus on her health.
This is my second visit. My condition has improved since I soaked my feet in the mineral spring and drank the water.
Using the current mineral water source, we treat bone and joint diseases, skin conditions, and ailments with post-traumatic effects. We also offer physical therapy with modern equipment and incorporate traditional medicine for a comprehensive treatment approach.
With a 150-meter deep mineral water source and temperatures of up to nearly 70 degrees Celsius, the hot spring offers Tuyên Quang province a unique opportunity to develop health tourism, attracting visitors to create therapeutic experiences rooted in natural resources and local culture.
This mineral water and mud source are separate. We plan to add bungalows and homestays to attract international visitors.
The province has attracted major investors to build resorts, amusement parks, and golf courses, offering tourists a variety of options to enjoy mineral baths, sports, relaxation, and exposure to local culture and cuisine.
Health tourism has diversified Tuyên Quang's offerings, extending tourist stays and increasing their spending. The province plans to implement policies encouraging investment in high-quality health tourism, maximizing its hot mineral spring resources.
French journalist and poet Madeleine Riffaud passed away on Wednesday at the age of 100 in Paris, France. She joined the French Resistance Front at the age of 18 and fought bravely against the Nazis during World War II. As a reporter, Madeleine Riffaud spoke out against French colonialism in the colonies, including Indochina. She was a loyal friend and devoted many years of her youth to Vietnam. After the victory at Điện Biên Phủ, she was one of the first French journalists to return to Vietnam at the invitation of President Ho Chi Minh to report on American imperialism in Vietnam. Her articles, photos, books, and personal experiences in the country became invaluable sources of information, helping the world learn about the struggle of the Vietnamese people for national independence and reunification. Coming up next on our World News. Trump wins, electoral victory and power transition begins. And 2024 will be the world's hottest year on record. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has defeated Vice President Kamala Harris in the race for the White House. The Electoral College is expected to meet on December the 17th to officially elect Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States. The results of the electoral vote will be announced on January 6, 2025. The president-elect will then take the oath of office on Capitol Hill on January 20th of 2025. The U.S. has begun the process of transferring power to the new administration, with Trump establishing a transition team to manage the 75-day process. In addition to winning the race to the White House, the Republican Party also gained a majority in the Senate, with at least 52 out of 100 seats, although votes counting have not yet been completed. The results of the House of Representatives election are expected to be announced in the coming days. President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday presided over the launch ceremony for Russia's latest nuclear power icebreaker, Chukotka. The event took place at the Baltic shipyard in St. Petersburg. Chukotka is the fifth icebreaker commissioned by state corporation Rosatom. It is expected to facilitate Arctic development and boost cargo traffic on the Northern Sea routes. Speaking via video link, Putin reaffirms Russia's plans to develop Northern Sea routes. New data confirms 2024 will be the hottest year on record, according to the European Union's climate monitoring body. Now, this year also marks the first time the global average temperature will exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. From January to October, temperatures were so high that 2024 was sure to be the world's hottest year, bearing an unlikely plunge in temperatures for the remaining months. The EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service attributes this prolonged series of temperatures records to the steady rise in the atmospheric greenhouse gas concentrations, which is fueling global warming. This warning comes just a week before the UN's COP29 climate conference in Azerbaijan. A robot playing the cello has performed alongside a symphony orchestra, reported for the first time in music history. The robot played at Malmo Live Concert Hall in southern Sweden, along with Malmo Symphony Orchestra, at the premiere of the new work especially written for the robot by Swedish composer Jacob Murat.
The robot cello, combining industrial robotic arms with 3D printed parts attached to it, was designed and developed by researcher and composer Fredrik Gran, who programmed the robot using Murat's musical score.
You know, musical notation is basically like code. So my musical notation actually became, transcribed as code. So the robotic cello was actually playing like instantly from the score rather than, the interpretation that a musician makes out of the score.
Despite Murat's excitement about the concert and the possibilities of robotic musicians, he doesn't believe robots will replace human musicians.
I think human curiosity is inevitable, and it's so strong. We will always explore. I think that in the future, as well, there is alternatives with electronic music. I think acoustic music played by robots will definitely be an art form or a platform for itself.
Murat clarified that the cello robot, while a refined piece of hardware, does not employ artificial intelligence. However, incorporating AI is something they are considering for future projects.
And up next is the weather forecast. And that's the end of VTV News. To watch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or visit our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at 3 p.m. local time.